Welcome to the Tower Talk podcast, a place for honest and open conversations to support you in living your best life from the inside out. Join me on this journey of self-discovery as we explore what it means to reach next level badassery and cut through the BS. So tune in, stay a while, and I promise I'll be right here alongside you as we figure this shit out together. Welcome back to the Tower Talk. This is a bonus shorty episode. I'm calling it a shorty, but I think it'll probably be around the same time as the solo episodes I normally do. But this is going to be all about the powerlifting meet that I just did a couple weeks ago now here. It was on April 13th in Waco, Texas. So I wanted to share a little recap of the meet, what I learned, and all the things. I honestly love podcasting and I would love to do this more. So if any of these episodes give you some education, if they give you some laughter, if they arouse you, if they do anything to you at all, please share it with a friend. Share this link out. I would love to hear from all of you. Rate and review. It helps this podcast so much. It also helps me pay my beautiful editor and my incredible assistant, Emily, help get this podcast out there. So if this is helpful for you in any way, or if you just enjoy the Tower Talk at all, rate, review, subscribe, share, do all of those things. Thank you so much. So a little bit of a backstory. In January, I shared in an email newsletter that I wanted to compete in a powerlifting meet this year. And here I am now in April of 2024, just completed it. And I will say that is what I call a follow through, ladies and gentlemen. I really wanted to record this one to share my experience with it all and hopefully inspire you to take action on a goal. And if you didn't listen to my goals podcast that came out in January, this would be a great time to go back, listen to that episode, see where you're at with your goals, and go effing get those goals. The best time to take action, pursue your goals, start your strength journey is now. It's today. And that's exactly the mentality that had me signing up for this powerlifting meet and completing within the Q1 goal of this year. Although actually technically April is Q2, but that is okay. So after sharing this 2024 goal with you all in January, I realized that the best time to do a meet for me personally, just with my business and with some upcoming travel, my retreat next month, was April. I wanted to have enough time to train for it, but I really wanted to do it before the heat of the summer and my business needed to take a lot of my time. April just felt like the perfect fit to me. So today I'm going to share with you how I went about training for it, how much things cost, because I feel like that's an important piece and not talked about enough, what I learned would do differently, and how even though I went into it thinking I am never going to do this again, I know that I will do at least one more after that, getting that first one underneath my belt. Okay, first and foremost, I hired a coach. I have been a coach for myself for over a decade, and I still hire coaches all the time. Some people find that really weird, but I'm like, why? I am a constant learner and I want to continuously be a better coach. So of course I'm going to hire someone that is more knowledgeable in this specific sport. I have a ton of background in kettlebells, in mobility, in strength training, in yoga, in hypertrophy, menopause, like a lot of that background. But I didn't know much about the powerlifting sport, specifically with meet prep. So I thought, what better way to learn from an actual coach? And I had never competed at this level before, so I wanted to make sure I felt supported throughout the entirety of the training process and the journey. My coach was great, and she is awesome, but I do wish that I had an in-person coach on the day of. I am so thankful that I called him my meat daddy, which is Teddy, my husband. He was literally my savior that day. I could not have done it without him. Things move really fast, and he was checking in with where I was at in line and how many people I had before me and when I should eat and when I should start my warm up. And I think it would have been super helpful to have a coach do that, because while he did such a great job, I think it would have been nice to have someone know my exact numbers, what I've hit before, what I need to be doing to be able to, show up the best that I possibly can for each lift. The programming was also really great, and it definitely works. This is a group of people. It's called the Strength Guys, and I was working under Alyssa Parton, and they have done this with so many clients in the past, and it's worked so well for them. But for me personally, I did the exact same thing for 12 weeks in a row. Yes, of course, the reps and sets and percentages just like they absolutely changed, but the accessories were the same and every workout was the same. And I was doing those 4 workouts every week over week for 12 weeks in a row. So for me personally, I was like, oh, I need something different. But I did it all and I stayed the course because that's what I tell my clients. And it is so valuable and so important to actually stay the course so you can see your progress over time. My program consisted of squatting and deadlifting 2 times a week, and I benched 3 times a week. I was still able to maintain some of my fun conditioning classes up until a few weeks before the meet, but the strength program was a 4-day split. And I will say, I am excited to not bench for a little while. 3 times a week was a lot for me. I mean, I definitely saw improvements on my bench and I got really freaking strong. But I was feeling a little like tennis elbow tendonitis at the end, like towards the end. And my coach did that say like, she was like, that was pretty normal with just the sheer amount of volume that I was doing. It is the one exercise that I actually did PR with at the meets. I've been able to get 185 and I did get 187. I know people are like, that's 2 pounds. It's 2 pounds and it counts. Once you get to a level of strength, it's really hard to increase that month over month, year over year. And so I am super excited about that 2 pounds. But my third attempt for bench press was 193. And I look back at the video and I am like, I could have gotten that. I really think I could have gotten that if I just I don't know. I could have gotten it. So that is definitely why I want to do another one. And if you can hire a coach when you get into something new, it is so freaking valuable. I'm really glad I did it. I would absolutely do it again and hiring a coach. And it was so helpful to have something to follow along with, make sure I was progressing and getting any feedback that I needed as well. Okay, next, the training. So before getting into the training, I did have previous 1-rep maxes. My deadlift from 1 year ago, like right about this time, was 375. My squat was from a year ago and it was 315. I was able to hit 320 in training, which was really exciting because I haven't been able to get past that mental block in a long time. And so I was able to get 320, and I really do think 325 is like on my radar for sure. That's another thing. But I have been benching for a couple years now. So yes, it did take me 2 years to add 2 pounds that lift. But about halfway through the block of training through this 12-week program, my coach had me retest my 1-rep max. And honestly, they were pretty far from what I was able to do in the past. And I was super discouraged. I'm not even gonna lie. With those numbers I had that I had done in the past, the 315, 185, and 375 for my deadlift, my numbers at that halfway point was 335, which is makes me so sad for deadlifts. It was a 300-pound squat, and then it was a 185 squat, bench press. So that was super discouraging for me. And I took 10 days off because I went to Ecuador for a retreat. So I had to do my 1-rep maxes after 10 days in Ecuador. And that was the only time that I actually took off of training. But I was so consistent with that whole plan. So that was just in mindset wise, that was really tough for me because I was just so far off and I was like, but I'm in the training. So anyways, I stuck to it. I did see the progress. I was super consistent outside of those 10 days that I was gone. And I just was like, it's okay. It's a little blip in the road of when you get this far in your strength journey, there's going to be a lot of dip. There's going to be a lot of ebbs and flows, and it's not a plateau. It's not that I got worse. It's just that your training and your levels of strength just ebb and flow over time. But at the end, I actually did stop the conditioning and cardio classes that I was going to because I just wanted to be safe and healthy before the actual meet. So I really just stuck to the 4 days a week leading up to the meet. Okay, the cost. There are 2 different federations when it comes to powerlifting. There is USPA and USAPL. The biggest and most notable difference is that USAPL is drug tested and the majority of USPA competitions are not. USPA does have a drug tested division, but its popularity is minimal and competitions are significantly less frequent than the untested division. So I opted for USAPL because for several reasons. I wanted to be able to go to a very specific meet, and they just had more meets. I was also a D1 athlete and got drug tested. And honestly, I just feel more comfortable competing with others that would as well, even though I'm nowhere near strong enough for it to even matter at all. It's funny. I actually saw 2 of the strongest women there, obviously, get drug tested afterwards. So if you want to know more about the differences, there's a whole Reddit forum of people that will tell you which way to go. But I paid $70 for a membership to USAPL. It does last for the year. The only thing you get is to be able to pay for meat. So honestly, I felt like I was paying a price to pay another price. So that was really interesting. And then the meat itself was $125. So outside of hiring a coach, there is obviously having access to a gym, which can be different just based on where you live. You do need a squat rack, of course. We did use machines because I had full access to a gym and I was training out of Los Campeones. The one thing I really wish I did was practice with powerlifting equipment more. This is just a side note. Squat racks are very different than powerlifting benches and squats. We actually just got a new squat rack in our garage gym, and it's closer to the style of what you would use for powerlifting, but still slightly different. So I definitely would do that again with using their powerlifting specific equipment and plates. Their plates are a lot thinner and they just feel different on the bar. So that is definitely something I want to do next time. The closer you can mimic how you lift in a meet, the better. So then there's the cost of the accessories or the equipment that you would use, which you may or may not need at all in your first powerlifting meet, but I personally wanted to feel super comfortable and ready. So I got all the necessary items to train with beforehand. Number one, I bought a 10 millimeter leather belt from Inner. It was $145. It was recommended by my coach and other people in the powerlifting world. I had a fabric belt before and I had a leather belt. So this actually took a lot of time to get used to because it was super heavy and thick. And I felt like it was like pinching my body. It was too tight and just like felt like it was crushing myself. But I am super happy with it now that I've just been getting used to it. But it did take several weeks to actually utilize this in the right way. The thickness of the belt and the lever almost makes it form in like with your trunk. And it is a really solid powerlifting belt. I did a lot of research before I jumped into this, and it is expensive for belts, but I will have this probably forever. Well, at least until my next powerlifting meet. Okay, next thing I bought, I'm a big fan of deadlifting barefoot. However, you do have to wear shoes for the competition. So I did buy some slip-on deadlifts from One Hund. They were $65. I really enjoy wearing them and I will absolutely continue to use them when I lift from here on out. Honestly, I like barefoot lifting at home and I will continue to do that. But if people are around, if the wood is slippery at the gym, I will wear these and they're a really great resource to have. You can utilize them for other movement patterns, but I specifically like them for deadlifts. Lavender is my favorite color, so I did end up getting that, but I'm sad I didn't get darker ones because they're already so dirty. I also bought powerlifting specific shoes. I may actually just get squat shoes next time for the meet. They have a hard, flat bottom, and you do get a little bit of a heel lift. They also lock your laces in place with a Velcro, so I was excited to use them. I've been using Adidas Continentals for flat-soled lifting for years. I love them, and so I don't know if I really actually needed these shoes, but I did fall into the trap of thinking I needed specific shoes for this meet, and they were $140. This totally depends on your mobility. I have really solid ankle mobility, so I don't need a ton of heel lift. However, those shoes specifically for squatting are highly recommended by the powerlifting community as well. I also bought knee sleeves, and I will be honest, I never thought I would need these. My knees are in good shape. I do a lot of single leg work, a lot of mobility, and honestly, they're really strong. Everyone is like, wait till you're older. And I'm like, bitch, I am going to have strong knees because I take care of them. But knee sleeves helped me so much. They make your joints warm and get you out of the hole quicker. They were another $125 though. The singlet, things I didn't know before joining. I didn't know you needed a specific uniform to lift in. And of course, they're so expensive for no reason. $150 for something that you wear one time. Like, this is not flattering for anyone, but I guess it makes sense to charge whatever you want based on everyone having to buy it. I may or may not have forgotten anything there, but just from those accessories and the membership and ticket, it was over $700. So things I didn't know before getting into this sport.
Hey talkers, are you on a journey to feel amazing in your own skin without any pressure or judgment? Well, let me help you fuel up for the ride. Enter Legion Athletics, your new fitness sidekick. These guys aren't just your average supplement company. They're like the supportive coach, Tara, who always has your back, no matter what. Whether you're aiming to feel stronger, more energized, or just a little more badass every day, Legion's got your back. And your biceps, and your abs, and your glutes. Well, you get the picture. Their products, well, let me tell you, they're like a treasure trove of goodness, meticulously crafted to nourish your body and enhance your performance without any unnecessary fillers or fluff. Plus, they taste so good, you'll actually look forward to chugging down your protein shake. And hey, if you're into science, you'll appreciate that Legion's formulas are backed by real research. There's no bro science here, just pure, sweet gains. So what are you waiting for? Embrace the journey to becoming the best version of yourself with Legion Athletics by your side. Head over to legionathletics.com now and use your code TerraTalk for 20% off your first order and double loyalty cashback on every order after. That's TerraTalk, TARATALK, and enjoy the rest of the show.
Next thing, what did I learn? I learned so many things. First and foremost, this is a pretty serious sport. At least from my perspective at this meet, people are really serious. They're in the zone. They're eating times. They don't talk to a ton of people. And in past competitions for myself, it's been just super fun. It's also just been like competitive. And I knew I wasn't going to win the Olympics or anything. So I just wanted to make sure that I was having fun in the process as always. I learned a lot of rules I didn't know, and I wish I practiced the commands of each lift. So let's talk about the commands. First of all, it goes squat, bench, and then deadlift. Squat commands. Basically, you have to wait until they say the word for you to do the thing. So you take off the bar and your body has to be in a locked, straight up position. They have to say the word squat. You do the squats, and then they have to say the word rack and you put back up the bar. Now, for squats, my first squat of the day, I go up 298. And I've done this so many times before, and it actually was super easy, but I just didn't know. Like I just went up there. I was so anxious, so nervous. I was like stressed out. And I walk up to the bar and I just take it off the rack and I squat. Like no words. They said nothing. I got all red lights. And I was like, what happened? Like that was a really good squat. And I just didn't know. I don't know. Like it just, I don't know. My head was somewhere else. And so it didn't count. And so you get lights. There's 3 lights that show up, red or white, basically. You want 2 of the lights to be white. It's basically the judges. So there's a judge on the side, there's a judge in the front, and then there's a judge on the other side. And you need 2 of the judges to say that was good and you are fine. Obviously, with that lift, it didn't work at all because I didn't actually do the commands. For bench press, this is tough because if you are not used to pausing on your chest for bench press, this is a rude awakening. I actually did do this in my training a lot, but bench press is they'll give you the bar if you want. They say, what do they say? They say press or they say go or I don't know. I don't remember what they say, but you're at your chest. You have to pause until they say press. Once they say press, you can press the bar. And then they'll say rack and you have to rack the bar. So you can't just go right up from your chest and rack the bar, and you can't just press it before they say press. The last one is for deadlifts. Deadlifts is they just have to say good or yes. I forgot the word that they use for deadlifts at the top. You have to be stacked. Shoulders slightly back. You have to have your glutes locked. Everything has to be locked in for it to count. There was a lot of guys that were lifting very, very heavy weights and they didn't roll their shoulders back, or it was just like barely there. And it was like so close to being up. And I was like, oh, that was up. And they said no. But again, if you get 2 out of the 3 lights, it means it still does count. So it still does count. So for me personally, I did fail my first squat just because of the commands. I got my second squat. And then my third, I didn't practice the commands again and I didn't lock out my knees. And so I was kind of standing there with 320 on my back, I think I was going for 330 at that point. And I think I was just there for too long and it was super in my head and I didn't end up getting it. The other ones that I failed, it was just like an easy fail. And so I just got all reds. So I never had to worry about the lighting. But there were a couple people that I saw get 2 whites and 1 red, or if it was 2 reds and 1 white, like it didn't count. So that's just something that I wish that I did a little bit more. After you do your first attempt for the lift, you have to tell them right afterwards what you're going to lift next. So going into the meet, I had my attempts in mind from my coach. I had my warm-ups and my attempts in mind, and she gave me like an A, B for my third attempt, just kind of based off of what I was feeling. But right after you hit your first attempt, you have to tell them exactly what you're going to do next time so that they can set up the bar and the plates exactly for what you need to do. And so that's another point where I wish I had a coach there and to kind of guide me through what it looked like or how it felt kind of in the moment. Each person gets 1 minute. So it happens fairly quickly. And there was actually someone that was like, Tara, you're up, and Jenny, you're in the hole. And it would be really quick, but they would say, okay, Tara, your bar is ready. And so as soon as they say, Tara, your bar is ready, I have 1 minute to get up to the platform, perform the rep, and then walk off and tell them what the next attempt was. So there were some people that were just like not paying attention, or it was just like things were moving so fast that I was like always right there because I was just so nervous that I was going to miss it for some reason. That is definitely something that I want to like prepare for in the next meet of like knowing how quickly things move. And I also just wish that this meet in particular had a little bit better of a organizational type situation for when the next person was coming and how we can move in a quicker order. I also just wish they had music. There was something going on with the speakers. There was no music. There wasn't a lot of cheering. I just wanted more energy and there just was not. Okay, let me shift back into weigh-in and check-in. Okay, so when you first walk in, you get checked in, you show your membership card, and then they check all of the equipment that you're going to use because they have to be a USAPL sanctioned accessories. I had to show them my shoes, my socks, my knee sleeves, my deadlift belt, and my singlet. They had to check off that they were all okay before I actually went into the weigh-in. So they checked, make sure it was okay. I also had to set up my bar so that I can tell them what height that I wanted it at. That was another thing that I wish I practiced a little bit more. Just the powerlifting bars in general are a little bit harder to like move up and down. It's just if you're not used to it, it feels super overwhelming. So of course I'm walking in the door at 8 a.m. We drove from Austin, so it was like 90 minutes or so. And I walk in and I'm like, oh my God, I didn't know any of this stuff. So I'm already stressed out. Okay, so the other thing with weigh-in, there are weight classes and there's age divisions too. The weight class that I'm in, I have been between, I don't know, 146 and 150 for like a long time. And the weight division that I was in was 67.5 kg, which is 148.8 pounds. And leading up to the meet, I was like 148.5, 148, like almost like daily. But there was something about it that made me stressed out, of course, because if you weigh more than that 67.5, they bump you up a class. And I could have been bumped up a class, but the next class was 75 kg, which is like 165. So lifting in that division would have been 20 pounds heavier. And typically you want to stay like as close to what you weigh as possible. So the closer you are to that 67.5, the better. And I was super nervous. So I actually dehydrated myself quite a bit the day before because I really wanted to weigh in at that exact weight. And so the morning of, I actually didn't eat until I got there. I normally always eat. I didn't have any coffee. I barely had any water. And so I did weigh in. I was 146.3. So I was actually a pound under. And at that point too, I only had about an hour or so. And I was just like, the nerves were so high that I just didn't eat enough food. And I wish that I had set that up a little bit better. but I was also just super nervous. I couldn't eat. I had like yogurt and I had food there, and I just was like not in the right mind frame to eat. So something to note for the future. But also just like being that close to a weight class is just like you want to weigh in as close as you can. And so people do that a lot. They'll just dehydrate themselves. I'm sure you've heard this in the wrestling world. I've read an article recently of this guy weighing in, and then he gained like 27 pounds in one day because he just had to weigh in at a certain weight. So yeah, so that's kind of how the weigh-in goes. After we do the weigh-in, there's like they just tell you exactly how the meet's going to go. And then you basically start warming up, and then you just start getting into it. The warm-ups itself would last between 15 and 20 minutes. You want to be as close as you can to when you go. But I had, the first heat was about 20 people, and I was usually closer to the end because my first attempts were a little bit higher than most people in my age group. And so I had to just manage it based off of each person. So I literally would be like, if there's 15 people ahead of me, that's 15 minutes. So then I would start like my warm-ups for that. And then, it was a long day. It was, we left the house at 6 a.m. and we didn't get home until about 4. The actual meet itself was from 8 to about 1, and they were a little bit behind. And then we did some medals, and then we had food, and it was just like a really, really big day. I did bring all the snacks and drinks and electrolytes. I had everything that I needed, but I was just a little too stressed for me to like actually eat that much. And I don't know why I was so stressed. Like it wasn't like this huge deal, but there was just I was just like, the energy was really high and I was in adrenaline, and there was like big weights going up, and it was a new experience. So I had everything I needed. I just didn't eat it. I didn't really eat until probably like 10 or 11 o'clock. And then really I just had like a Pop-Tart or gummies and stuff like that. So make sure you bring electrolytes, make sure you bring water, make sure you bring carbs, and try to eat as close as you can to what you normally eat, because that's going to be super valuable for you as well. Okay. And finally, I know I told you this was going to be a shorty episode, but there's so much to talk about. And finally, am I going to do another one? The answer is yes, but not for a bit. I just want to go into it in a totally different way. I also want to just have some fun this summer. I needed a break from the training. It's a lot on your joints, to be honest with you. I need to add a little bit more to the training that moves on every plane. I didn't really get a lot of rotational movement. I didn't get a lot of lateral. I want to be able to do it in a really smart, sustainable way, but I obviously want these numbers to go up and want to work with a coach that can help do that as well. I am potentially going to lean into maybe a fall or winter time. And honestly, who knows after that? I just want to be able to do another one, because now that I have the background of the first one, I can set myself up for a second one. But as with any competitive athlete, specifically in the powerlifting world, I want to lift heavier shit. I want to hit bigger PRs. I want to, hit some really cool numbers that I have in mind for myself. And I definitely want to hit that 193 bench press. So I really hope that this recap inspires you to take some action on something you've been curious about or wanting to do. I know it can feel so challenging to create space for things like this, but there will always be more work, more things to do. So honestly, why not just go for it? And if you're looking for some support along the way, I love working with people who crush not only their fitness goals, but life goals, because how you show up for the gym or at home directly correlates to how you show up for your life. I am working with a couple clients right now who are doing their 1 rep maxes. I'm really excited to see what they hit this spring, and we'll probably test it again in the fall. But I love working with clients that want to be strong and take up space and be bold and be incredible. So you can connect with me on social media, as always, at Tara LaFerrera and also at the Tara Talk. Through my website. Both are linked in the show notes. I just have a bunch of free educational content and resources. I'd love to connect and chat. And if you have any other questions about powerlifting or this meet, please let me know, share this out, like and subscribe. I appreciate you all very much. Thanks for coming to this Tara Talk. I hope you're taking something away from this episode, and if so, I would love to hear about it. You can connect with me at the Tara Talk and at Tara LaFerrera on Instagram. A few ways you can help support the show and help spread the word. You can share it on Instagram, tag at the Tara Talk and at Tara LaFerrera. Send an episode to a friend, and please leave a review if the show is resonating with you. It takes just a few minutes, and it means so much to help this show grow, and it helps me to continue to bring on badass guests for all of us to learn and grow from. I am so happy you're here and excited to be on this journey with you. Until next time, be a badass with a good ass.